Hey there, it's me again. This is part 3 of my story. Sorry I'm all sweaty and crap today. It's just been one of those days, you know what I mean? So, this one's going to be a very interesting story, I think. Um, this one takes place after the first kiss. This is the first kiss happened in October, and then so we're going to move forward to January, um, and towards the end of January. So between that first kiss and now, we're still not together technically. It's still like an unspoken thing, even though we had that kiss. Um, Things between us were doing good. We were talking every day, and everything was great. We never kissed again after that up to this point. For some reason, like, I was a pansy. There was no way I would ever do that. I was that really mature guy. Sorry, wiping sweat from my forehead. I was that really mature guy that was like, if she wants it, she'll kiss me. And she did once, and I was real happy about that. But so we're moving up to late January. Um, this is where things get a little weird. So in the late January, things between me and her were doing really good, and she was having a rough time at home, a real rough time. And by this point, I had fallen so hard over her that I already started betraying my father and everything for her because my father told me no, you've got to save yourself till marriage. You can't go out with somebody beforehand. Sorry, just fixing this. I just look like crap today, but like you can't go out with someone beforehand, like or not go out, but you can't have sex before you're married and all this stuff. And I believed it, and honorably, I was holding up to that. But she started really making me question that. Like I wanted her physically, and I wanted her emotionally in every way possible, and so I really was starting to question my what I was brought up to be right. So I started to think I was a bad person because I wanted these things. And anyways, so late January rolls around, and me and her, keep in mind I was 17, so I was a stupid teenager at this point. So she calls me one night, and she's like, I can't stand it here anymore at my mom's. I can't stand it. I'm going to kill myself. Those were her exact words. And I knew immediately when she said that. I was like, well, if you're going to kill yourself, I'm going to kill myself. And I mean that. And I did mean it. I was like, the woman I love is saying that she's going to. I told her, please don't kill yourself. Please don't do it. There's other ways. And she's like, no, I can't. I can't. I need to escape. I can't stand it here anymore. And she was crying and bawling. And I started to tear up. And I started to cry. And she's like, no, I've got to kill myself. I can't stand it here anymore. And I had known that she was a cutter beforehand. Like she was one of those gothic hot chicks, that betrayed those roles and cut and everything. And so I knew she was a cutter, and I was trying to get her to stop. So when she said she was going to kill herself, I knew that she meant it. And I was like, please don't do this. There's other ways. And she's like, no, I'm going to do it. And she's like, I just want you to be happy. I want you to be able to go do great things in your life, and I want you to be able to, I want you to be happy. And like she kept saying that over and over, and I said, I can't be happy knowing that you're dead. Like I need you in my life. I want you in my life. I will never be happy if you're dead. And by the way, that's still true to this day. I said it. I meant it. Like that's never changed. But anyways, she said, no, I've got to do this. Like I can't stand it anymore. I can't stand my mom. I can't stand being here. So what happened next? I said, all right, fine. You know what? If you really want to kill yourself, then just know that I'm going to do the same. Because I would rather not be in this world. I would rather be dead than to be in a world without you. I meant it. I said it. I did mean it. I meant every fucking word. So, yeah. she's like, no, don't do it. And I was like, no, I've got to do this. I've really got to do this. I know if I don't do this, I was like, if I find out you're dead, I'm gonna kill myself. And I hung up my phone. And I was like, I know she said she's gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I called my friend Brandon, and I was like, Brandon, I just want you to know, man, it was nice being your friend. You were a good guy. And he goes, what do you mean, man? And I was like, I've got some stuff I'm going through, and I'm gonna kill myself tonight. I was like, because so and so, she's gonna kill herself, and I can't be in a world without her. Like, I really can't. I refuse to live in a world without her in it. I've said that back then, and I said that to this day. Like, if she ever dies, I will kill myself. But which won't matter because I'm gonna die soon, anyways. But anyways, so I hang up the phone with Brandon, and I cut my cell phone off. And I had a leather jacket back then, a lot like this one, except it was like a $30 jacket that I bought at Rose's, which if you don't know what that is, it's a really crappy thrift store. So it was like made with really cheap, really thin, like polyester, like, or whatever it is, that fake leather. This is a real leather jacket, by the way. I've upgraded. But anyways, I had that jacket on. I took it off. I opened up a box cutter that I had, and I started fiddling around with it because I worked at Rose's, and I had a box cutter because I did a lot of, opening of stuff, opening boxes. So I took it and I pressed it against my skin, applied just a tad of pressure, just a little bit, and I just felt it sink in. And I sinked it in until the blade disappeared, till halfway. And then I started pulling down, and I pulled down, and I pulled down, and then I slid it out, and then I picked it back up, and when I slid it out, I could just feel the warm blood, like it tickled the outside of my skin because it was coming out so quickly, and it was just dripping, and it was seeping out like at a really huge, like my arm became covered in a matter of minutes. Not even minutes, I'd say like 20 seconds. Time seemed to slow down. So I continued this about 15 times, and by this point, like, I started having a huge puddle of blood. Like where I was sitting had soaked up so much blood that you could push your hand against it, and blood would start seeping out of the cushion. Like, that's how much I was bleeding. And all of a sudden, like, this is after 10 minutes goes by, like, I was doing this, listening to sad music, and I was just crying my eyes out, knowing that she was not going to be there tomorrow, and I refused to be there, because I loved her so much. All of a sudden, there's this huge bang, and I hear a door just fly open, like someone just kicked it in, and I hear someone go running through the living room. And then I hear my dad jump out of bed, and he comes running in there, and I hear a voice says, "Where's Justy?" And he goes, "Downstairs." He's like, "I need to see him now." So all of a sudden, the door slams open that goes downstairs, and he comes running downstairs, and I immediately knew who it was. It was my friend David, my martial arts instructor, which I am a black belt, by the way. Now, I wasn't back then. At the time that this was going on, I think I was a red belt. I believe I was a red belt at this time, because I had been going for a while, and I got my friends to start going about 2 months before this, and I was like the number one pupil, and I felt really cool about that. It felt nice being special. But anyways, so yeah, I was a red belt, and all of a sudden I hear a knock on my door, and David goes, "Justy, I know you're in there. You better open this door now or I'll break it down, and you know I will." And my dad's just real cool about all this, like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And I was like, "Oh, this is weird," but it was weird that he was just so chill with it all, because my dad's one of those not so chill with it all people. And so I grab my leather jacket, and I slide it on, and I zip it up, and I go, and I wipe off my hands as good as I can, and I open the door, and David's just got tears in his eyes, and he goes, "No, no, no." And I was like, "What?" And he takes the zipper to my jacket and zips it down and rips my jacket off, and blood just starts like, going down again. And he's like, no. He's like, come with me right now. I was like, no, I'm not going to go anywhere. And he was like, I will fight you if I need to get you to come with me. And I was like, all right, then bring it on. I was like, because I'm seriously going to end my life. Do you not understand that I'm willing to go to this extreme? What extremes do you think I'm not willing to go to? So he grabs me by the head and by the hair, and he pulls me out into the day room, which is this huge open room right outside of mine. It's not huge, but it's an open room outside of mine. Pulls me by the hair and pulls me out. And I grab his hand and I pry his hand open, and I elbow him in the stomach, and then I could do a backwards kick into his lower abdomen, and he falls onto the couch. And I turn around and I see my dad watching all this with his mouth open, like, because I'm that up to this very point to him. I am a good kid. I've never disobeyed the law. I've never done drugs. I have never disobeyed my father's instructions. I have 100% blindly followed everything he said all the way up until this point in his eyes. And his jaw dropped. And David stands back up. And keep in mind, I pull out the box cutter from my pants, and I was like, come on, if we're going to do this, let's do this. And I open up the box cutter, and he comes up and he grabs my arms, and I do like an under roll, and I pull my arm out of his, and I upper deck his chin, and he knees me in the stomach, and thankfully I've been trained enough to know how to take a blow. One thing I was really taught was how to take a hit and not focus on the pain. And my endorphins were running so high anyways, every hit he did to me felt like he was just touching me, like on the skin. I could take full frontal hits and just grin. And I was, like, through this whole time, I was laughing hysterically, like an evil laughter, because I was so high on the endorphins. I was like, I'm gonna die and you can't stop me. Like in an evil endorphin-fed laughter while I was fighting him. And then he grabs my hand that has the box cutter, and he pulls my wrist around to try to get me to drop it or break my wrist, either one. And I let go. The way I was holding it, let me show you. I was holding it like this, and he grabs my wrist and turns it like that. And when he turns it like this, I drop it out of my first finger, and I hold it between these two fingers, and I go whoosh, like that. And I cut his hand wide open. And when I did that, he reached over with his other hand and grabbed the box cutter and threw it. Like, I don't even know where it landed. It flew down the hallway. That's the last time I seen that box cutter, but I cut his hand wide open. He bled like a horse. Like, I cut him deep, because when I did that, I did it with full force. But he now had me unarmed, so it was hand-to-hand combat. And I would keep in mind, I was bleeding through all this, so every time he tried to grapple me, my blood worked as a lubricant so I could get out of the grapples, because I was bleeding that much. So he tries to get me in an arm lock, and I use my blood, to slide out, and then I elbow him in the stomach from behind, because he had me, after he did that, I was leaned over like this, and he came up behind me and pulled my arms up like this, and grappled me with his hands like that around my arms. I slid out of this one because of the blood, and I went doosh into his gut, and then I went like that into his chin, because he was taller than me. I went boom, pop, and when I hit him in the bottom of his chin, I felt his jaw go like that, and I busted 2 of his teeth, and he let go and grabbed me by the back of my hair right here, and then he kicked my back of my legs, knocking me on my ass, and he tackled me onto the floor, and got me in a chokehold, and held me there until the cops showed up, because I couldn't get out of it. Because when he had me in that chokehold, man, he was holding me out till I was passed out. I was in a daze when the cops showed up. So the cops showed up, and I regained consciousness because he did choke me out on the couch. So he set me on the couch. And so I regained consciousness, the cops are there, and all of a sudden my adrenaline kicks back in because I realized exactly what's going on. And I was like, oh shit. Like, I am going to fucking jail, prison, thank God I'm underage, something's going on. So all of a sudden the cops goes, hey, we talked to the magistrate, you got two options, all right? I want you to understand this. You got two options. And there's 3 officers, by the way. Sorry, wiping sweat off my head. And they go, option A is you come with us willingly, and we can do this. You can come with us willingly, and we can go take you to get help. And they said, option B, well, let's just say you don't want option B. And I immediately stood up and I said, option B, please, with a smile on my face, because I was still as high as hell. And when I jumped up and said that, the officer just looked at me like, you're kidding, right? And I went, boom! And I popped him in the chest as hard as I could, right in the middle. He did not have a bulletproof vest on. I learned that right then and there. So when I popped him in the middle of his chest, I used my whole force. I knew how to balance my body so I can get the full maximum pressure I need. I did that, and he literally hits the wall like 6 feet away on his ass. And then the other 2 officers come up, and they're like, get on the ground now! And one of them pulls out a taser, and the other one pulls out, I don't know, some sort of spray. I think it was pepper spray, and or something like police pepper spray. And so I was like, I looked around and I was like, oh shit, I'm outnumbered, because up to this point I only seen that one officer. I was like, man, 3-1. And I was like, man, they got weapons. I don't. It's like, even if I could beat them, like one-on-one, they're going to go all 3, and they got weapons, and I don't. I'm just screwed. Like, no matter, there's not a scenario where I can beat them. You know, if they didn't have weapons, I would have gladly have taken them all 3 on. So what ended up happening is I looked around and I was like, shit. I was like, all right, fine, I'll take option A. And the officer got off the ground, and he was like, I am glad I called for backup. And he got pissed off, and he handcuffed me. And because when I was knocked out, you know, my martial arts instructor, when the first one arrived, he said, no, this guy is a martial artist, and he can, like, because he's seen the code on that guy. He's like, I'm his martial arts instructor, and he almost took me down. He's like, you need to call backup, because when he regains consciousness, he's going to be mad. So, you know, by this point, the magistrate hasn't called in, so they couldn't handcuff me yet. So he called up the backup, which, if he didn't, I would have escaped. I know I would have. Because there was no way in hell he was taking me down. Because one hit and I had him on the ground. If the other 2 officers didn't intervene, man, I could have been in prison for a long time. So they handcuffed me, and they take me to the hospital to get my wounds looked at. And I remember getting in there, and the guy goes, huh, man. He goes, wow, man, you were really on a mission, weren't you, the doctor? And I was like, yep. And he goes, man, so they stitched me up. And he was like, you shouldn't be doing this, man. You know, nothing's worth it. No girl's worth this. And I was like, you don't understand. Like, people nowadays don't believe in true love. And that's something I will always believe in. You know, everybody has one true love out there. And if you find it, you better hold on to it. And if you lose it, you're going to be trying the rest of your life to get it back. And if you don't try the rest of your life to get it back, it's only because you're willing to take second best. And I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to take second best. So, sews me up, and then take a 45-minute ride out to a place called Copestone, which is like the loony bin. And I stayed there for 7 days. And I got there, and they made me strip down naked, put their stuff on, their slip socks and all that stuff, and I remember the doctor walks in, and the doctor goes, hi, you know, I need you to fill out the survey so we can get to know you better. One of the questions was, what's your favorite motto? And I was like, shoot for the stars, because it's easier than hitting the moon, you know. And so the doctor walks in like 20 minutes later, and he goes, it takes a real smartass to appreciate a smartass. That answer is a complete smartass answer. And I was like, thanks. And he goes, look, we're going to do 2 things. 1, we can be friends and work this out. And 2, we cannot be friends. Like, do you want to be friends? And I was like, no, I don't want to be your friend. And he kind of got this serious look on his face, and he goes, okay. And he walks out. And that's where the beginning of my mental institution started. And I will leave that and what happened between me and her and what happened to her, I'll leave that for next time. So if you haven't watched the first 2, you may want to watch them to get the storyline of what's going on here. But this is part 3. Alright. Bye.